Welcome to Burning Bright, a weekly podcast presenting poetry and prose from Passager. Gavin Kayner said his story, Right with God, was inspired by those pilgrims who traveled to the Pueblo of Magdalena to test their relationships with God by lifting the head of St. Francis. Here's an excerpt. In Magdalena, Mexico, one celebration seemed much like another, until the day Esmeralda Cruz married. The marriage took place in the spring of 1890. Her parent, Jorge and Carlota Cruz, announced the wedding proudly, though setting aside a suitable dowry proved a great sacrifice. The small bag of coins hidden in the wall behind their bed was a lot of money for a family who had so little. To protect others from temptation, they had told no one of their diligence. Every night, Jorge counted the silver coins with Carlota at his shoulder. A father with a daughter is rich, he told her one evening as he spilled the coins across the frayed blanket, until she marries. At noon, the wedding party gathered in the church. As he wandered about the church, Jorge came to the small room where a simple wooden carving of St. Francis lay on a waist-high bed of adobe covered in plaster. The memory of who carved it or how the church acquired the icon was lost, but the mystery of faith had given it special significance. Only those right with God could cup their hand under the head and lift the statue even a little. For years, pilgrims throughout the country had made their way to the homely room and confronted themselves and God with unerring conviction. Jorge saw how smooth the head had been worn. So much faith, he whispered, and crossed himself. He had considered it, certainly, but knew himself as a weak and sinful man, and never dared challenge God so boldly. Still, an idle thought crossed his mind. Could he? On this special day? Was not God infinitely merciful? Jorge felt his hands sparkle in anticipation. He had no witnesses. Who would know? God, he heard himself answer. God would know. The wedding party formed, and Esmeralda made her entrance. As she stood luminous at the door, a melancholy constricted Jorge's chest. Nothing prepared a father for this. His daughter, when she entered, another man's wife when she left. What a price to pay for loving her all those years. Pride and regret engulfed Jorge as he escorted Esmeralda between the benches to the altar. The priest chanted the wedding mass, the people their responses. The old words settled like dust in the celebrants' mouths. As Raphael and Esmeralda left the church, 4 men from a large village to the south played the traditional songs. By midnight, the children had fallen asleep, wherever exhaustion subdued them. The men, dulled with alcohol and lies, sought out the comfort of their wives. The time had come for the groom to take his bride away. Jorge entered his house to collect Esmeralda's dowry. He knelt beside the bed and pulled it away from the wall. In the lamplight it was difficult to see, but when he reached into the hole with his calloused hand, Jorge knew immediately the cloth bag was missing. Frantically, he searched among the bedclothes. Finding nothing, he hurried from the room. An excerpt from Gavin Kayner's story, Right with God, from Passager, issue 68. Renny said she's met with mothers and their children being held for months in for-profit family detention centers in New Mexico and Texas. Here's her poem, Lorena. 1. Her hands, if they speak, will say, bitter, slut, violated. She must hide her hands, they're trembling. How they were pinned, useless. The gringo lawyer wants to know, but Lorena has only emptiness. Journey flashes back. She cannot speak, cannot look at her son's eyes. How could she not have stopped it? Her shame, a bright moon that floods her. Her boys screaming. Beggars. Nothing to give. Her body the price. In that filthy car. Pleading, take my boy away from here, please. It is in her child's mind like a fire that cindered him, even as he bellowed into starless silence. until he understood his mother was broken. Desert sky had no eyes, only a boy, a witness without a childhood. 2. Yes, Your Honor, I left Honduras 4 months ago. How? Alone, Your Honor, with my boy. Why? Gangs, he no have chance. How did you travel? Cousin new driver who take us through Guatemala, another take us through Mexico. Did anyone harm you? She pins hands to her sides that might testify her shame. Liar hands. Did they harm you? Lorena, Renny Golden, from Passenger, issue 59. To subscribe to or learn more about Passenger and its commitment to writers over 50, go to passengerbooks.com. Also, between now and December 26th, 20% off on all Passenger subscriptions and book purchases. Go to passengerbooks.com, click on Shop and Subscribe. You can download Burning Bright from Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and various other podcast apps. Before we end this episode, a word from Passenger's art director, Panta Tofanci.
Passenger is a small literary press dedicated to older voices, a generation vital to our survival. We are working hard to ensure that Passenger's mission continues for decades to come. My responsibility is to make the most beautiful home for our writers' words, from the cover to all the white space that hugs the letters. I hope every time that you read one of our issues or books, you are reminded how you have been part of it. Please join me and our Passenger family today in celebrating this beautiful tradition of kindness. Even a small donation can go a long way to sustaining us. Go to passengerbooks.com and click on Donate at the top of the page. Thank you.
Passenger's art director, Panta Tofanci. For Kendra, Mary, Christine, Roseanne, and the rest of the Passenger staff, I'm John Shore.